Well, thank you so much. It's an absolute honor to be here. My favorite topic to talk about is money and how to help people just get ahead financially, because we were never taught these things in
No.
school.
Mhm.
That's what at least attracted me to the industry. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and what I hope to provide the audience today is really just some financial literacy. Like I said, things that we should have been taught in high school. What seems complex, we can really help make it really simple. And for anyone who kind of went shopping crazy during the holidays, we help people strategically get out of debt faster, and really how to change our mindset about our relationship with money, and how to, yes, think and live in abundance, but still live within our means, and really just get on track to build wealth, because that's what everybody wants, is time, the freedom of time to retire with our grandkids and
Yes.
live the dream life. And how we get there is by being strategic about our money and our day to day and our spending, um, and really just, it's a mindset shift. So
Well,
yeah.
you're a financial advisor, certified financial advisor, but you weren't always like, you were a teacher, right? And then
Yeah.
something inside of you is like, I love this. I have a passion for it. I want to help people. That's what the way it kind of worked, right?
Yeah, I think they put me in this position to show that anybody could do this.
Oh my God. That's what I say about this podcast.
Right.
Got to provide hope for the people.
Yeah. People listening, we have hope.
Yeah. So I used to be an elementary school teacher. That's what I always wanted to be when I was little. And I did everything that society told me to do. Go to school, get good grades, get a job, you'll be fine. And then I realized in 5 years in that profession, we were barely getting by on Long
Sure.
Island, New York.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
my husband's a teacher as well. And so, being a struggling and burnt out teacher with my master's degree in special education, I said, I want to make a really big impact. And I want to make some changes in this education field, but I can't do it if I can't even pay my own bills. And so I always was looking for other streams of income. I was attracted to this company because I was curious about how money worked.
right.
Like I said, I didn't know who to trust and who to turn to. And so someone was willing to teach me, thank goodness. And so I plugged in part-time, used my teaching skills to share it with others. And I just found it so rewarding, and slowly transitioned out of my teaching job. And we haven't looked back since. And my husband's left teaching, and we've been full-time in business together for 5 years. So it really, it just goes to show you that if it's important to you, you can
Yes.
learn the basics and implement it, and your life can change for the better in a short amount of time.
Well, I'm going to hand over my checkbook to you then, and this interview is over. Hey, wait, Serena needs some financial advice right now because she needs to pay for some stuff, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a few things though. When it comes to money, it's almost like people would rather talk about their medical status than talk about how much money they have in the bank.
Mhm.
It's very personal. And a lot of people, once they get into debt, we talked about this with our last guest, they feel ashamed, right? And there's, and statistically speaking, I don't know if you know the numbers, but when we talk about debt, how much of the nation, or how many of the people you see at least, are in deep debt?
I mean, just the government alone is in trillions of debt. So we'll just leave that right there.
But I guess, my question always is, to somebody, to one person, debt could be $1,000. To another person, debt
Yeah.
could be 500,000. So what is like the average that you see?
Well, when we're talking about at least credit card debt, the average family has about 7 or 8 different credit cards with a balance.
Wow.
Man,
Okay. That's a lot.
we're above average, Serena.
That makes me feel a little better.
And you know why that is because when it starts, even when we're in high school,
Sure.
we get in the mail a credit card and we're like, woo, and no one ever tells us what is it, how to get out and stay out of debt, and how to be responsible with it. And then all of a sudden you're in high school, everyone's prancing around with their college shirts and boom, student loan debt. And then you get married, more debt. And then this is just, people are set up for failure.
The cycle.
To get out.
I'll remember my first day of college. I was walking across campus, like with my backpack, not in a school uniform for the first time in 12 years. And somebody's like, here, fill this out and you get a credit card. And I was like, awesome. And that was the first time that I got the ball rolling. And like, that's when it started. But it was like, they were just handing out applications left and right on campus in the commons. It was like a really nice day. I'll never forget it. And I think there was something free with that. I think you got like a t-shirt or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time you go to an airport, they're handing out free credit cards so you can get some miles on your next trip, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, not just college kids fall for that shit, Serena. We fell for that.
I don't know what the incentive was for me, but I guess it was a free K-State shirt. Who knows?
Well, Nicole, I want to give you a chance to talk about some, I'll say, common mistakes that you see people make when they come to you for help. Are there any, do you see a trend?
Yeah, well, since we were just talking about debt, probably one of the biggest misunderstandings about how do I strategically get out of debt faster is the best way is to pay off the higher interest rate first. Now, I've heard a lot of different things out there from different other money books, and there's a lot of different strategies, but you can't argue math, right? Numbers are fact, and fact is absolute. There's a little secret called the rule of 72. And it's about compounding interest. Right. I think you've heard of it, right, Michael?
Well, we mentioned it on our last show, and we said we would get back to the audience on what it was. So this is actually perfect.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So what the rule of 72 is, take your interest rate that you're getting, whether that be debt or growing, and divide by 72. So let's pretend, I don't know, if we were to be interactive with your audience, I'd say, what's the highest interest rate you've ever heard of on a credit card?
29%.
20, I was gonna say 25%, 29.
Yeah, you guys are spot on. So if you do 72 divided by that interest rate, people's debt, and especially their credit card debt, is doubling every 3-4 years.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And
because
so
they're making minimum payments and not paying toward,
yeah. And then what most people end up doing is paying minimums on all of them and a little bit more on all of them.
Right.
And so really, if you want to strategically save time and money, I encourage you to pay all the minimums. And if you have anything extra, dump it on the highest interest rate first. Knock that one out the fastest because it's bleeding you out the fastest.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it does.
And we learned division in elementary school. Why were we not taught this?
Yeah, I mean, but I guess that's why I see all those ads for you can transfer balances to get zero interest for so many months, and getting out of those high interest rate cards. Whew.
Well, as far as go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
On the plus side, this rule of 72 and compounding interest can work for you. Also, if you're having your money grow, you want to be earning higher interest rates. So,
and the higher the interest rate, the quicker it grows.
Exactly.
I like that equation better than the one I got myself in as a young sailor.
Yeah. Make an E3 pay, spending like you're an E8.
Hey, you know what? If you go to any military base right now, I guarantee you that you'll see some 06 get out of a beat up old BMW and some E5s driving a brand new Mustang.
Right.
That's the way it works.
Absolutely.
But, yes. So credit card debt. And then what about cars? I'm always interested to know. It seems like people buy above their means when it comes to cars, like all the time. Is there a good rule of thumb of how much of your income should go toward transportation, so to speak?
Whatever is the lowest monthly amount.
You're really? Like, just make it as low as you can.
Really, because we've done budgets with a few couples, and one of their biggest expenses is their car payment. And I said, well, what kind of car you have?
Right.
And yes, a lot of people are trying to impress too many people with what they drive, when at the end of the day, what should impress you is how much you have saved in the bank.
Yeah. And how much the money's working for you.
Yes. That's that mindset of impress me with not what you make, impress me with what you save, not what you spend, but what you save.
Yeah. And what you
And
invest.
that's like the biggest gut check is like, if someone were to ask you, what's the biggest check you can write me right now? It's like, oh, maybe
Well,
I'm not that much of a big dog, like
yeah.
cash is king.
Well,
My gosh, my dad says that every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nicole, I can write you a check for any amount I want.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry.
it'll look nice. You know what? Let's talk about school for a minute. When I was growing up in school, they taught you how to sign your check and they taught you how to write, $57 and no cents. I mean, that's the extent of the financial literacy they taught me
Oh,
from, all the way up to high school and even in college. Until I took finance.
absolutely. And that's why we're building this business, is so we can create our own financial literacy curriculums, entrepreneurship curriculums, because the world is craving it. There's only like a handful of states that are actually mandating financial literacy, and it's everything. I mean, it
It
impacts
is everything.
every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
You don't have to have money to be happy, and they say all that stuff, and you don't need a bunch of money, but hey, it's hard to live without money. And it does make your life a hell of a lot easier if you have more than a little.
Yeah, it just ranks up there with oxygen. No big
Right.
deal.
It does. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I know a lot of people who, whether it be choices or just what they don't want to work any more than they like that job they're in, or they're okay with a certain amount of money, and there's nothing wrong with that because they're happy. Right.
Mhm.
But most of America, my dad said this when I was younger and it stuck with me. He said, you may never be happy. I've seen poor because I grew up poor. I had an outhouse. I was in 8th grade. He said, you'll either be so poor, it doesn't matter. Like a lot of people I know, they're really poor, or so rich, it didn't matter, but anywhere in between kind of sucks. So you're always striving, right? I want
Totally.
Serena's money.
I don't, we're bleeding right now. We had pipes burst in our house
Yes.
last episode.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, Nicole can get you a high interest credit card to pay some of that off.
No. That is what I'm trying to stay away from.
Exactly.
So that is, now it's just like, I didn't want to dig into savings account to,
Mhm.
I mean, this is why I know we have one, because we have a home.
Yes.
And this is why we have a savings account, so we don't have to, we can just pay for what we need to pay. Our deductibles there, whatever, but I'm not even time to
Right.
get into it, but more problems have come up. Once I start tearing the walls out, then you see more problems.
Yeah. It's like when a girl takes off her makeup.
That
I'm getting in trouble for that one. Serena, I'm gonna get in
Oh
trouble
my
for that one.
God.
was hilarious.
It's 2 a.m. What are they go
And
home with a
that
10, wake up with a 2.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my God.
anyway, all right.
That
So
is such a key point though, Serena, what you said right there. And it truly is one of the foundations of just getting ahead financially is
Mhm.
having an emergency fund.
Yeah.
I think that's like overlooked way, just it's so important because
Sure.
life has a way of throwing things our way.
Yeah.
We gotta be ready, because if not, then you're swiping the credit card and getting into revolving debt. And so the goal is to have about 3 to 6 months of your expenses in a bank or credit union, just sitting there. It's not going to be growing and compounding in there for you, but
No.
it's going to be there when you need it.
Mhm.
That's
And that,
everything.
I feel like that's really hard to do anyway right now. Like my husband just retired from the military. So the year leading up to that, actually the 2 years leading up to that, we tried to save as much as we possibly could to get, into a position where if he didn't have a job and he wasn't, didn't have a paycheck, whatever, we could live. But it's so hard. Like, and
Yeah.
I felt like we didn't live above our means. I mean, sometimes, but not, it wasn't like a monthly thing. And we don't have tons and tons of debt. So, and I work, he worked, obviously whatever, but it's really hard. And I know, the rule of thumb, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is trying to save 10% of your paycheck. Is that still a thing?
Pay yourself first.
It's a
Yeah.
start. Yeah.
It's so hard. And
It
so
is.
I feel for younger families. I mean, we're older, obviously, but when we were younger, 23, 24, 25, we could have never saved 10% of paycheck. Never.
Yeah.
No. And I think it's important that you just start a habit at a young age.
Mhm.
My daughters are saving. My oldest started saving, $5 when she worked for tips. If it was a $5 tip, she would save all of her $5 bills. But it
Mm.
started a habit, right?
Mhm.
So eventually you want to get to that 10%. Eventually you want to get to where you just pay your expenses and you have a ton of money, you just keep investing. But
Yes.
my emergency fund went to Bitcoin and it's not doing so well, Serena. So I may need a loan.
I have no loans to give. They're going to general contractors.
Oh my God. And my Cardano went from like $4 and something down to $1.03, or I don't know. It's anyway, we're not talking about Bitcoin because my
Yeah.
heart's starting to hurt a little bit.
So Nicole, do you help people with like investing in that kind of stuff, like mutual funds and Roth IRAs? Do you help guide them in those kind of directions as well?
We are full service. We can do just about anything. But to your point before, like when we sit down with a family and we do a budget, most people would agree with you. So usually it's not a spending problem as much as Starbucks and Amazon and Target are so enticing.
Right.
Sure.
And man, that just drains your wallet. You go to Target for milk and then boom, all of a sudden you're like, I need a card. I can't even hold all this stuff.
Right.
Aside from those things, that happens only sometimes to the best of us. Aside from that, most people really they don't have a spending problem. They have an income problem.
Mhm.
Right.
How many people do we know are actually getting paid what we're worth?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I
I
know
mean-
some people are getting paid way more than they're worth. That's a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. But as a teacher, you know that
Oh,
very well.
Yeah.
And
So-
And the debt, the student debt. I mean, how do you have a salary when you have crippling student debt?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
Well,
I
a
don't know.
different conversation. We're going to get some educators on here and some people to talk about trades because the trades are coming back. People are finally waking up and realizing you don't need to spend $100,000 in college to get a $40,000 job when you could spend maybe 6 months and get a certified trade. And all of a sudden you're making $100,000,
Yeah.
a year after you graduate. And that
Sure.
those are real numbers. So,
Oh, absolutely.
And I think we've, like I said, I'm getting off topic, but we've made college sound like that's the golden ticket when really there's so many great jobs out there that require zero college. It's all about, certifications and what you can learn. You can go on YouTube and make a fortune if you're
Oh my
smart and watch the
gosh.
right videos, right?
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think we've put a lot of weight on college as a society.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that student debt, again,
Yeah.
it's all about debt in this conversation. If you
Mhm.
start out $100,000 in debt,
Start behind the ball. Yeah.
right, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, but
Right. We still need some of those around.
we do. But if you got a degree in basket weaving, you're not going to do so well when you get
Yeah.
out. Well,
That's true.
Nicole, we will make sure that we get your information out in case people want to contact you. But is there anything you want to say before we let you go?
I think that's everything. I hope and I look forward to getting to know your audience a little bit. I don't like to ramble on too much. I like to interact with other people. So I do hope that they reach out and, add me on Instagram or anything like that. And at the end of the day, we give free advice. If you have a question that's keeping you up at night, just ask.
Do
Because
you do like Zoom, or you don't have to be in Florida to do this, right?
no, we are.
So I stopped the recording, ladies. So by accident. So Serena, what was you asking again?
So you said you have an Instagram handle, so I want you to tell us what that is so we can
Mhm.
search for you.
Sure. It's my first name, last name. So
Okay.
Nicole Augugliaro, Augugliaro. No spaces or dots or anything like that.
Ooh, I'm
And
glad you spelled that
if
for us.
If someone reached out to you, they could connect via Instagram and you do Zoom conversations. Like if somebody wanted to set up a time to discuss their finances, you would do that over Zoom. They don't have to be in Florida to talk to you.
Yeah, that's it. That's the beautiful thing. That's why I was able to move to Florida.
Oh,
We
yeah.
can talk to anyone from anywhere. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we talked a couple of months ago. It was great. I went to one of your presentations to see if you were legit, right? Before I brought you on the show and put you out there to my audience, I wanted to make sure that you're the real deal, and you are, and you do it for the right reasons. And I appreciate that a lot. So thank you for coming on. We look
Well,
forward to
thank
seeing you
so
again. And
much.
yeah, we'll put a blog out with some information. We'll get your name out there so you can help some people.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Serena, she was awesome.
Yeah, she's got some, I feel like she's got the potential to help somebody. I mean, obviously we didn't even scratch the surface.
Right.
You need to get down and deep, and, sounds like she knows what she's doing and she can really lay out the numbers. And I feel like probably bring people to reality like that. I
Yeah.
seem to think that's the problem. Like most people don't think they're spending that much. And like she said, it's not a spending problem, it's an income problem. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it might be a spending
It
problem.
is. Even, I am guilty.
Mhm.
I have a credit card and I go on every Friday and I pay it off. My American Express is kind of it's my just card I use for everything.
Sure.
And I pay it off every Friday, which is actually a mistake. I found out because I need to at least wait a couple of weeks because the balance doesn't look that big if you pay it off every Friday.
Yeah, that's how you build your credit.
But
That is something we should have talked to her about.
building your credit.
Yeah, because credit cards are bad, but you need to have credit.
You do. Well, we can talk about that for a second. She didn't have to be on here. If you're young and you're listening, you need a credit card. I mean, you really do, but you never, ever, ever, ever want to be late, right? Or to run your credit, and you want to keep your balance, if you can, below 30% of your total credit. Like if it's a $10,000 card, you want to keep your balance they say under $3,000. And I know it'll go up and down, but you need to build your credit at a young age. I got my daughter her first credit card at 18 and helped her just so she could have credit. That way she could buy a car when she turned 21.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I know I said that my dad always says cash is king. She said it, cash is king. But today, unless you have $500,000 to go buy a house with cash, you need to have the credit to get a loan to buy a home, or, you know what I mean?
Right. And anything you buy, like most people don't pay cash for cars.
Right.
I mean, do you want to pay 2.9% interest on a $40,000 car, or do you want to pay 17% interest on
Exactly.
So you're right.
Yeah.
Credit cards are important. So, well, another week, Serena, and we learned a lot, and I appreciate her coming on, and I hope some of our listeners reach out to her and, at least see what she has to offer and listen and maybe get a little financial plan from her.
Sure. I think that sounds like she seems friendly and nice and not
Yeah.
intimidating to talk to.
Yeah. And maybe she can help you with your busted pipes.
Is she a plumber?